Hey everybody, how you doing this morning? Holistic Travel Guy here. Today I'm in my friend's driveway with my 2003 Ford Windstar, which I'm going to be replacing the struts. I'm sorry, the shocks, the shock absorbers. There's the new shock absorber there. There's the old shock absorber, which is definitely original equipment from 20 years ago. I'm going to be removing that lower nut, which is 15 millimeter, which I've got right there on my ratchet, and that upper nut, which is also 15 millimeter. So it makes it easy. Both of them are 15 millimeter. Now you may ask, what does this have to do with holistic travel? Well, pretty much everything I do has to do with holistic travel. Right now I'm on the road traveling from Florida to North Virginia, and my shocks are bottoming out, so I got to replace them. And in order to get to my next destination of travel, I got to have good shocks. Always remember to support your vehicle. In my case, I'm supporting it 1, 4-ton jack, 2, scissor jack, and 3, a pile of bricks on the axle. So I'm going to go ahead and remove those 2 nuts. I've already done the other side successfully. And now I'm going to zoom in for you so you can see how I hope that's a good picture. Let's try right there. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see me remove those 2 nuts, 15 millimeter, and bolts. There's bolts attached to those nuts. I've already got them loosened, so I'm going to set my ratchet to reverse, and that should come right off. I might actually have to hold the nut on the other side of this. It's got one of these special bumper locks. So I don't have to hold it. It's just coming right off with this bumper lock. It bumps up against the frame of the car, and I'll show you what I mean about that in a minute. This little long attachment to the nut right there bumps up against the car so you can spin this side of it without having to hold it. So I'm just going to put that down momentarily right here on the tire while I get the other nut out, the upper one. And then, if everything goes well, according to how well it went on the other side, this shock absorber just basically pops right out easily. All right, I've got the other bolt loose enough to just take it out the rest of the way by hand, and you can see it just falls right out, basically. And there's the old shock absorber. And the reason I know it's original equipment, because it says right over here, Ford Motorcraft, Japan, gas-filled shock, OEM, and it looks like it's about 20 years old. 2003 van, so that makes it a little bit over 20 years old now. So I got the new one, looks almost exactly like it. The upper collar is a little smaller, but it fits well. It fit well on the other side. Now I'm just going to slide that right up in there and put the top bolt in first. The nut actually stayed in place. It's in a locking collar, so the nut actually stayed in place while I was disassembling this. And now I'm going to tighten it up by hand, just a few turns. I'm going to take the locking nut for the bottom. Oh, I forgot to grease the threads. One thing I always like to do when I'm putting in new any kind of car repairs, I like to grease the threads so that if I have to take it out in the future, it comes out easier. I'm using red tacky grease, which I like a lot because it's really sticky. So I put it on with a screwdriver. Oh wow, this for some reason isn't wanting to stick to this bolt. There it goes, now it is. So since I've got the top one in already. Let's put the cap back on here. Put the bottom bolt in. Now this was a little tricky. I actually had to compress the shock a little bit on the other side because it doesn't line up perfectly right out of the box. So I'm gonna go ahead and push up on it a little bit and then slide the bolt in. And there it goes. And now there's actually a set of threads on the other side of this collar, this bracket that the shock absorber mounts to. There's threads on the other side. So before that nut attaches, I'm going to go ahead and start this by ratchet. Before the nut attaches to this bolt, it actually threads into the collar bracket on the other side of this. And now it should be, there it goes. Now it's threading into the nut. Yeah, I'm making progress. Now you know that extension collar I showed you earlier. Now it's kicking into gear. And I'm snugging it down, tightening it up. And now I'm gonna go ahead and take that top one off and put some red tacky grease on, because like I said, I always like to do that red tacky grease. Makes it come out a lot easier in case I have to remove these shocks next time for any reason. If 20 years from now, when this van is 40 years old, I might need a new set of shocks, or possibly sooner, who knows. Again, I gotta do some compression on that shock to get it out of there. Here comes the red tacky grease on the threads. I always like to give it a generous portion of grease whenever I do car repairs. After all, these bolts that I'm doing all these car repairs with, these bolts haven't seen any grease in 20 years. And any fresh grease anyway. All right, let's get that back into place. Let's move that shock absorber into position. And thread that bolt through it. There we go. And like I said, that nut should still be in place up above there. And there it goes, it's threading it in. Now here comes the ratchet. Now we're going to tighten these down to 40 foot-pounds because I looked it up online earlier and that's what it says. These are to be tightened at 40 foot-pounds. So we're going to use our big long extension gear wrench, 15-inch, for that, and the 15 millimeter socket fits right on there really well. So we're going to go ahead and tighten that down to 40 foot-pounds, which unfortunately I have to estimate because I don't have a foot-pound wrench. I was going to order one on Amazon, but they're up to like $34 for a really cheap one. So I'm going to estimate what 40 foot-pounds is, and just tighten it up as much as I can, basically, without breaking the nut or the bolts. All right, well, that's it for this edition. Again, you got to make car repairs sometimes in order to travel. There's the tire. I'm going to be putting that back on in a minute. And again, I got these for $20 a piece on Amazon, which saves me a lot of money. Tire Kingdom one is $429 to do the whole job. And, you know, the shocks alone were like $120 at Tire Kingdom, and I bought them on Amazon for under 20 bucks each. It was like $19.50 each. Okay, we'll see you down the road with new shocks. See you later.